But let's go back to verse 1 and verse 2 of Jeremiah 23. The Lord says, woe, and I've explained in my last broadcast, it means, woe here means curse, or curse, be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture. This is the Lord speaking to the pastors now. For years, for centuries, since the Martin Luther Reformation or revolution that took place in Germany, the leadership of the church didn't want to be using much of the apostolic anointing or apostolic office. They were scared of it, thinking that only the 12 disciples that Jesus handpicked earlier in his ministry they were the only ones who were supposed to be apostles. Guess what? They didn't read the book very well, because Paul wasn't among the 12. He wasn't even among the 70 or the 72. He came later on, and Paul was still considered apostle. So we had 70 or 72 plus 12. Then we had Apostle Paul. Then we had also Barnabas, and we have Timothy too, known as, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of apostles throughout the church generation. So in the debate, since that Martin Luther Reformation, was that we don't want apostolic ministry anymore, and we don't believe that it exists. Prophets, you hear in most cases for centuries now, prophets, they'll be telling you anybody who calls himself or herself a prophet, that person should be a fake prophet or a fake, seer. And they kick aside again the prophetic office. So out of the book of Ephesians 4 that we see verses 9 to 10, 11, you will see the whole thing. The fivefold ministry that God established. Two have been kicked away by a group of fearful church leaders who will not embrace the promises of God. God is the one establishing the gifts. He wasn't looking at how qualified we are. He chooses us and qualifies us. But out of false humility, they say, apostles don't exist today. Prophets don't exist today. Now what is left is the three remaining offices. The evangelists, the pastors, and the teachers. But in between time, pastors came out, they said evangelists now are working on us. But evangelists are ahead of pastors. The only ministry we know, particularly among the five, that is possibly behind the pastoral office is the teachers. So pastoral office, is number 4 out of the 5. Teachers are the number 5. But look at how we play the game. The pastoral office for centuries have taken over control over the church business. Every church leadership you hear is pastor. I'm talking about the Protestant movement, not in the Catholic or other Orthodox denominations out there. I'm talking about the Protestant. Everybody going into the ministry, they will tell you, I went to the Bible school or seminary school to graduate to be a pastor, to be a pastor, to be a pastor, to be a pastor. Everybody is known as pastor. And during my crusades, as I travel around the world, I will have church leaders meetings, either for lunch, for prayer meeting, to prepare now for the strategy of the crusade. And you can have hundreds, or sometimes you can have maybe scores of them that are attending the meeting. And I will ask the question, how many of you are called into the apostolic office? Literally, you will not see any hand. They'll be looking around here and there, thinking, preacher, are you crazy? Apostles don't exist today. And when I say, how many of you are prophets? They'll look around, no reaction. And I say, how many of you are evangelists? Then you have few hands up, Then when I say pastors, how many of you are pastors? Literally every hand will go up. Then I say, how many of you are teachers? Then you will see few, sometimes the same pastors, they'll say, I'm pastor teacher. I'm a pastor teacher. Or some will say, I'm pastor evangelist. All of these gifts are very important. They're good. But please hear this very, very well. There is not only one office that God is using called the pastoral ministry. There are 5 of them as God has instituted, as we see in Ephesians chapter 4. But look at it here.